So I do want to touch on the Freedom Phone, but I want to preface my tangent here by saying this. We have far too many people who do not have a shred of discernment in their bodies. And sometimes it's multifaceted. For a lot of people, there is this overwhelming desire and need to feel hopeful. And so whenever something that comes along that seems like it is for us, and it's fighting against big tech and fighting against the system, they latch on, right? It's why the Q cult was so wildly popular, because people need to have hope. They just do. They want to believe that they have somebody big fighting for them, someone that's going to come save them, right? And that is one facet of why control opposition is so rampant these days, because if people believe that they have someone big on the inside fighting for us, there is a level of complacency that breeds, because they're like, oh, well, look, we have Trump, we have Q, we have Candace, we have RFK, we have all these people on the inside with a large sphere of influence that are truly fighting for our freedoms, when it could not be more opposite, right? The best way to control the opposition is to lead it yourselves, which is what they do. There are many roles of controlled opposition. That is simply just one. Oftentimes they act as gatekeepers. So anyone who is liking, following, commenting these people's posts, that they are easy to flag. And that is what sites like Trump's media site, which was part of the election simulation game last June, has literally been speculated that he would do that for years. It is just all playing out according to a script. It's why they pulled the false flag of disabling his Twitter. That was literally just to continue this narrative of him starting his own outlet and getting people to believe that in 2021, in this world, that there are still phones and social media sites that you can go to that truly are protecting free speech and that aren't censored. And that is where I want to start. There has to be more discernment. So even if I didn't know that Candace Owens' father-in-law was Lord Farmer, who is a member of the House of Lords in the UK, whose members the Queen appoints personally herself, the same House of Lords that Lord Rothschild was a member of. So even if I didn't know that about her father-in-law, even if I didn't know that her husband, George Farmer, who she got engaged to only after 3 weeks at the Trump winery. But George Farmer is a hedge fund manager, literally the swamp, okay? So even if I didn't know that, or the fact that she was CEO of Degree 180, she was extremely liberal. Degree 180 was a site literally dedicated to being anti-Trump. And I'm talking very, very recently, okay? And then she just magically made this switch to this hardcore conservative after being extremely liberal and extremely anti-Trump. In fact, she was quoted as saying, I can't wait until the Republican Party dies off, and then parentheses, hopefully peacefully in their sleep. So she's a snake, okay, in sheep's clothing. And I have never had a good feeling about her. So I use discernment instinct first, and then I use research to back that up. But so she was off to me from the beginning, never liked her. So anything that she endorses to me is an automatic no. But even if I didn't know one single thing about her, the Freedom Phone alone, okay, first of all, the name, like, I'm sorry, but if people can't automatically see through something like this, the fact that it's 2021 and the state of the world is the way that it is, and that we still have a large, considerable amount of conservatives who believe that we still have places where we can go where we aren't censored and free speech is allowed. Or here's the other thing. Anybody who still believes in the false political paradigm of right versus left, and especially anybody in a position of influence who is a hardcore Trump supporter or is still talking right and left, to me, I automatically know one of two things about them. Either they lack some serious discernment, and that's very frightening, and I cannot listen to or take advice from someone who at this point in the game doesn't understand how it's being played. So they either fully lack discernment, okay, and critical thinking skills, and that's scary enough as it is, or they are 100% controlled opposition. So I sadly, because I know again, people need to cling, to some sort of hope, and I get it. They're emotionally invested in things, which is why so many people, fell for Trump and Trump. Oh my God, I do that all the time. Trump and Q. Because you get emotionally invested in something. The state of the world is dire, right? I mean, all of humanity is in peril. Like, let's not beat around the bush. That is a fact, an absolute fact. And people feel hopeless. But if they believe that there is someone big on the inside, someone with a lot of influence working in our favor, the military, Trump, Q, Candace, RFK, Del Bigtree, Shiva, then, Abbott, DeSantis, take your pick, then it gives them hope, because unfortunately, the human race has really lost touch with the personal power that we were endowed with, and the absolute irrefutable fact that we possess every single thing that we need to overcome what we're facing, but we've relinquished that personal power, over centuries, but especially in the last few decades, to the point where people feel like we can't do anything on our own and we have to be saved. And I can't tell you how many times when people on my original account, after they followed me, for a length of time and finally came to the realization from all the research that I posted that Trump really wasn't fighting for us and wasn't on our side. And then I would have countless messages from people. Well then, what's the hope? What's the point? Like, he was our only hope. And I'm like, was he? Or is that what they wanted you to believe, right? It's like they need you to be invested in the fact that you don't hold any power on your own, which is absolute, utter bullshit. And the realization of enough people coming to acknowledge the fact that we truly do hold the power, because if we didn't, the endless propaganda wouldn't be necessary. The decades and centuries and billions spent on dumbing us down, diverting our attention, distracting us, all of those things, dividing us, none of that would be necessary. They know how powerful we are. It's only us who have forgotten. But I digress. The lack of discernment is very frightening. So the fact that there's people who just see this freedom phone pop up and they're like, oh, we're fighting big tech. We can go somewhere. It's not censored. It's not tracked, through Apple and Google. And I'm like, okay, without even doing an ounce of research, okay, without truly informing yourself, the fact that there is not enough instinctual, gut level discernment that, this sounds too good to be true, and I'm pretty aware of the way that the world is. I don't think that that's possible. That should have been the first thing, okay? Without knowing anything about Candace, without researching the Freedom Phone, which, let's talk about that for a second. They claim that it was developed by Eric Finman, okay, who they also claim is the youngest Bitcoin billionaire, okay? But when you start to dig into Eric Finman, and you guys know how I feel about crypto, it was created by them. It's a Psyop in and of itself, but let's just leave that for another day. So Eric Finman, he's partnered with NASA on their ELENA mission, which is the educational learning of nano satellites, okay? Many red flags, just on him alone. But then you start to dig a little bit deeper. His mom is Lorna Finman, okay? Raytheon, NASA, CEO of LCF Enterprises, who all they do is make radio frequency amplifiers for military DoD Pentagon that are used in wireless telecommunications, electronic countermeasures including jamming, radar, and electronic warfare, quote unquote. So, Lorna Finman, Raytheon, NASA, she's got a laundry list, okay, of all the red flag corporations that she works for. She is CEO of LCF Enterprises, who specializes, the only thing they do is produce radio frequency modules and amplifiers that are used in electronic warfare. And her son developed the Freedom Phone, which I don't believe it was him. I believe he's the front man. It really is her. So that tells me everything right there that I need to know. Okay, this is going to be next level tracking.
The most. I had no idea they had it. It's $10.
Okay, hold on, babe. And I'm sure next level mind control capabilities. Okay, here's the deal. The same thing with Trump's site, this phone. What better way, easiest way, right? Instead of having to scour, using the AI to scour through the billions of text messages, likes, comments, posts of all the extremists, why don't we create something and get these people, idiots, to believe that this is their freedom pass over here and everything will be uncensored and you won't be tracked and you won't be traced and it's anti-big tech and it's anti-establishment and we'll corral them all in one place and we know exactly where to go and who to track. I mean, come on, you guys. Like, we have to be smarter than this. More red flags about the Freedom Phone, as if it wasn't enough. Their operating system is called graphene. And if you don't know, I'm sure you guys do, but why that's a red flag, you can go check out my graphene oxide highlight. But they are 100% trolling us. And it's sad because there's so many obvious, blatant red flags about this. Again, without doing an ounce of research, not knowing about Candace Owens, not knowing about Eric Finman, not knowing about Lorna Finman, the phone alone. No one should believe that there's anywhere that we can go in this world right now, online, that is not tracked, traced, safe, free speech, any of it. That does not exist. I don't care who's telling you it does not, okay? So the fact that we just really have so many people out here who actually believe that there are places you can go still right now, in our current modern world, that are free from censorship and you can use free speech and you're not tracked and you're not traced and you've got these big people who are allowed to continue to speak out. That's your first red flag. Anybody with a really large sphere of influence that is truly threatening the agenda and is truly against it, they are not allowed continue to speak out. They are usually silenced permanently, if you know what I mean. But I know they're just sitting back laughing because the people who claim to be awake and aware and conscious of what's going on continue to fall for the psyops on the other side. They may not fall for the psyops, over here, right, on the left, but all the ones they target for the right, they fall for every single one of them, right? Trump, Candace, Ben, RFK, believing there's a Freedom Phone, So I'm going to share a little bit more about the Freedom Phone. I'm going to share a little bit more about Candace. I'm going to share a little bit more about controlled opposition. I have a lot of people asking me, do I believe that there are any big people on the inside fighting? Absolutely not. No, 100%. There's not. They may have started out that way, but once you grow large enough, you are not allowed to continue to speak out against the only allowed narrative, okay? And either keep your life, your livelihood, all the things. So no, I truly don't believe that we have anybody big on the inside, nor do I believe that we need anybody. That's the thing. Everybody wants somebody to come save them. Everybody is like, we have to have somebody big on the inside. No, we don't. Stop relinquishing your personal power. Reclaiming that is huge. Reclaiming your personal power on an individual level is life-changing. But reclaiming our collective power throughout humanity can change the course that we're